We have another interview from Kody Brown talking about Special Forces and Sister Wives on Access. It was about, 10 minutes, but it hit a lot of the same points that we have already seen. So they asked him about going on the show, and he loves this. He loves this so much because he's like, I've been working out for like 5 years, but I've really reached this plateau, and this finally gave me that push to get over the plateau. He's like, I previously had only been working out like an hour and a half a day, and then I'd lose motivation. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, total humble brag. Like, he definitely is like, people are going to be impressed that I was already working out an hour and a half. Like, this is just my, and he's like downplaying. He's like, but now I really had, I had this thing. He's like, I was given 9 weeks notice, which is so much more notice than other people. Another little drop about how he was one of the first people invited on the show is what he's implying. And he's like, so I was already training and I thought I was doing well, but then they sent us a list of what we should be doing. And he's like, and on the list was swimming. And I live at 7,000 feet, as though like pools don't exist. Like, most people who are training for long distance swimming are doing it in pools. I went to grad school with a gal who did ocean water swimming, which was crazy. It was so wild, but like, that's rare. Like, that's most people who are training for these things are training in a pool, which they do have at all elevations. But he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, I'm in such bad shape. I'm going to be in trouble. So I got my 50-pound rucksack and I like started hiking and working out. And I'm like, oh gosh, he is loving this. He is just, this is his thing. He loves it so much. And then he talked again, same thing that we've heard before about the brain fog and how I didn't have any problem physically. I thought that would be the thing that would bother me, but it wasn't physically. It was more mentally. And so just so you know, Kody does amazing physically on the show. And then he did the same thing he had said in another interview, which is like, they give us 10 things to do and I could only remember 5. And so he's really shifting into this narrative that he didn't have any problem physically. It was only mentally. He does talk about that, they ask about like problems on the show, and he's presenting it as he got along with everyone. He loved and respected everyone, was I believe a quote, if I wrote it down correctly. And that, it's all about the team, and he was a team player and all of that. So he's definitely came into this with, he wants to be seen as this really tough guy. He wants to be seen as physically, he was in great shape. He's this great teammate. He talks about how one of the teammates, I couldn't hear, it was one of the women, I couldn't hear who he was like, Kody, you have this physically, I'll just take care of the mental part, you take care of the physical part. So I guess we'll have to see if that's actually how it plays out. I mean, based on he would imply that he did amazing during the show. He talks about this apology tour, and he specifically said we had a nasty sort of breakup after the sale of Kody Pass, which is interesting to me that he views that was the breaking point. And I noticed that he's like, I felt like I needed to apologize. So this is like typical him to like find one area that he feels comfortable apologizing in. And he's a lot of like, everyone needs to take responsibility for what they did, and I'll take responsibility. But I don't hear him taking responsibility for like his kids or any of that part. He does, he kind of spoiled the show because he's like, oh, I'd never consider taking another wife. That was just someone reaching out, coming back to the faith. And I was like, oh, that was one of Sister Wives' big, like, ooh points, was like, is he going to get another wife? And then he's like, no, it's not going to happen. Now, he did say he was incredibly flattered by it. So like, of course he's open to that. He's such a guy, dude, bro, like of course he's flattered. And I think maybe he would consider another wife if like the right person came along that really flattered him right. But he tries to say that they're happy. They have him and Robin have all these goals around communication and all that. And that was sort of the interview. I guess I had more information than I thought. But yeah, that was the interview we saw from Access Hollywood.